I'm sitting on the kitchen floor right now, staring at the blank space by the door where Mark's duffel bag used to sit. The apartment is completely silent, except for the sound of my own ragged breathing. My face feels tight from hours of crying, and my hands are still shaking so badly I can barely type this out. 10 hours ago, I thought I was on track to have everything I ever wanted. Now, my entire life has completely imploded. Before he walked out that door, Mark looked at me with a coldness I've never seen in another human being. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He just looked right through me and said, "I'm not marrying you." Then he shut the door, and just like that, 3 years of my life vanished into thin air. Up until today, Mark and I were that couple. You know the type, the ones your friends secretly find annoying because we just worked. We've been together for 3 years, and we were actively planning our future. We'd gone ring shopping 3 months ago. We were looking at bigger apartments because we talked about starting a family in the next couple of years. Mark is 28, I'm 26, and he is quite literally the most grounded, loving, and fiercely loyal man I've ever met. He's the guy who remembers how you take your coffee on the first date and still makes it that way for you every single morning. He values honesty and integrity above everything else. And I ruined it. To understand why he left, I have to introduce you to my core friend group. I went to a big state school, and freshman year I fell into a tight-knit circle of guys: Leo, Sam, Julian, and Chris. We became inseparable. For nearly a decade, we've done everything together: weekend trips, music festivals, Sunday football, and a non-stop daily group chat. When Mark and I started dating, I brought him into the fold immediately. He was always invited to everything. He came to the dinners, the cabin trips, all of it. He always joked that it was a bit intimidating hanging out with them because they had so much history, and sometimes he felt like a bit of an outsider, but he always made an effort because he knew how much they meant to me. But there's a massive elephant in the room. A giant, radioactive secret that I kept buried deep down. Before I met Mark, back when I was a dumb, messy college student trying to figure myself out, I had a history with every single one of those 4 guys. It wasn't a secret to the group, but it was ancient history. Leo was a sloppy, drunken mistake during freshman year syllabus week. We realized within 20 minutes we had zero chemistry and agreed to never do it again. Sam and I had a mutual friends with benefits phase for about 2 months during sophomore year when we were both lonely, which fizzled out naturally. Julian and Chris were both casual, separate hookups during different summer breaks when we were bored and stuck in our college town. By the time we graduated, all of that was completely over. We had all mutually agreed that we were strictly platonic. For the last 4 years, there has been absolutely zero romantic or sexual tension between any of us. I swear on my life, they are genuinely like brothers to me now. So, when Mark came into the picture, I made a choice. I decided never to tell him. In my mind, it was irrelevant history. What he didn't know wouldn't hurt him, right? I convinced myself that telling him would only make things incredibly awkward. Imagine Mark trying to grab a beer with Sam or watch a game with Julian, knowing they've seen his girlfriend naked. I thought I was protecting his feelings and protecting the peace of the group. But a lie of omission is still a lie, and the universe has a funny way of bringing the truth to light. It blew up today by pure, agonizing accident. My 27th birthday is next week, and Mark wanted to make a scrapbook of our relationship. He knew I had a bunch of old photos from our early days saved on my old college laptop, which usually just sits in the back of our closet. I told him he could log on and grab whatever he needed while I was out running errands. While he was digging through the hard drive for photo files, he found an old digital journal app one used to write in during college. He shouldn't have opened it, I know, but he did. And right there, in an archived entry from my junior year, was a massive, panicked vent post I had written about the sheer drama of hooking up within the friend group, detailing exactly what had happened with Leo, Sam, Julian, and Chris. I walked into the apartment carrying grocery bags, expecting to see him cutting out photos. Instead, I walked into a graveyard. The moment I stepped through the front door, the air in the apartment felt different. It was heavy, suffocating, and absolutely ice cold. There was no background music playing, no sound of the TV, just a deafening, terrifying silence. Mark was sitting at the kitchen table. He wasn't moving. He was just staring straight ahead, his arms crossed, with my old college laptop sitting wide open in front of him. When he lifted his head to look at me, my stomach dropped straight through the floor. His eyes were bloodshot, and his face was completely drained of color. "Mark," I said, my voice barely a whisper. I set the grocery bags down on the counter, the crinkling of the plastic sounding violently loud in the quiet room. "What's wrong?" He didn't yell. Honestly, if he had started screaming, it might have hurt less. Instead, he just looked at me with this hollow, broken expression, and when he spoke, his voice was deathly quiet, yet trembling with a raw, vibrating anger. "Did you sleep with Leo?" he asked. I froze. Every muscle in my body locked up. My heart began to hammer against my ribs so hard I could feel it in my throat. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't form a word. Mark didn't wait for me to answer. He just kept his eyes locked onto mine and went right down the list, his voice shaking harder with every name. "Did you sleep with Sam? Did you sleep with Julian? Did you sleep with Chris?" The silence that followed was agonizing. I felt the tears instantly hot in my eyes. I knew right then that he had read the journal. There was no lying my way out of it, no denying it. The truth was laid bare on the screen between us. "Mark, please," I stammered, stepping toward the table, my hands outstretched in pure panic. "Yes, but you have to understand, it was years ago. It was way before I even knew you existed. It was just stupid, messy college stuff. It meant absolutely nothing to any of us, I swear to God." I was in full defense mode, desperate to minimize it, desperate to make him see that the past didn't matter. We were just kids making dumb mistakes. It's been completely platonic for years. They are just my friends now, Mark. It doesn't change anything about us. "It changes everything," Mark whispered, finally cutting me off. A single tear tracked down his cheek, but his expression remained painfully rigid. "You think I'm mad that you have a past? I don't care that you slept with people before me, Chloe. I care that you lied to my face for 3 years. He stood up from the chair, slamming the laptop shut. The loud snap made me flinch. "Think about it from my perspective," he said, his voice cracking as the reality of the betrayal poured out of him. "I have spent the last 3 consecutive years hosting these guys in my home. I've bought them beers. I've gone on weekend camping trips with them. I let Chris sleep on our couch when he went through his breakup. And the entire time, every single one of them had been inside my girlfriend. And not one person thought to mention it to me." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing back and forth in the kitchen like a trapped animal. "I've been sitting at tables with them, laughing, trying so hard to fit into your world, completely oblivious. Do they laugh about me when I leave the room? Am I the joke of the group chat? The clueless boyfriend who has no idea he's running a lap around a track everyone else already ran? No, never. They respect you so much, Mark. They love you." I cried, reaching out to grab his arm, trying to force him into a hug so he could feel how desperate I was. But the moment my hands touched his jacket, he recoiled. He pulled away from me like my touch was toxic, taking 3 steps back. The rejection stung worse than a slap to the face. He looked at me, and the utter disappointment in his eyes broke something inside me. "I was going to propose to you on your birthday next week," he said, his voice dropping to a flat, emotionless register. "The ring is literally hidden in my gym bag right now. But I can't even look at you the same way anymore. Every memory I have of us and of them feels dirty. I'm not marrying you." Before I could even process the words, he grabbed a duffel bag he had already packed from the bedroom. He didn't look back. He just walked out and shut the door. The next 48 hours were a blur of absolute, unadulterated madness. I completely lost my mind. I stayed awake for 2 days straight, blowing up his phone with hundreds of texts, leaving crying voicemails, begging him to just come home so we could talk. Every single message was left on read, or didn't go through at all. He had completely vanished into a local hotel, leaving me entirely in the dark. By the 3rd day, out of pure, suffocating desperation, I did the stupidest thing possible. I called a group meeting with the guys. I couldn't carry the secret anymore, and I needed help. I text blasted Leo, Sam, Julian, and Chris, telling them that Mark found the old journal and that everything had blown up. Their reactions only made the nightmare worse. Leo was hit with instant, crushing guilt. "Oh my God, Chloe," he stammered over the phone. "I feel sick. This is horrible. I can talk to him, man to man, and tell him it was a one-time thing and we're practically siblings now." Sam, on the other hand, got immediately defensive and angry. "Are you serious? Mark is acting prehistoric. It happened in college. He's being incredibly insecure and controlling if he's throwing a 3-year relationship away over ancient history." Julian was the only one who gave it to me straight, and his words cut deep. "Guys, stop," Julian said into the group call. "Mark isn't crazy. We should have told him. We all should have. By keeping it a secret, we made it look like we were actively hiding something shady. Now we all look sketchy as hell to him." In a horribly misguided attempt to fix my life, Leo decided to take matters into his own hands. Without telling me, he found out which hotel Mark was staying at through a mutual acquaintance and sent Mark a massive paragraph. He tried to clear the air, explaining man to man that the hookup was a decade ago, that it was a mistake, and that he completely respected Mark and our relationship. It was the ultimate nail in the coffin. 10 minutes after Leo sent that text, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Mark. My heart leaped into my chest, thinking it was a sign of hope. It wasn't. The text read, "The fact that you are running to them and discussing our relationship with them right now proves everything I need to know. You care more about their validation and fixing your standing in your friend group than you ever cared about my respect. Do not contact me again. We are done." A full week has passed since that final text message, and the chaotic, panicked energy that kept me moving has completely burned out. It's been replaced by a deep, hollow depression that makes it hard to even get out of bed. The reality of what I've done is finally setting in, and my entire life feels completely fractured. I haven't been back to the group chat. I haven't answered calls from Leo, Sam, or Chris. The silence in this apartment is deafening, and every corner of it reminds me of the future I casually threw away. 2 days ago, completely overwhelmed by the weight of everything, I finally broke down and called my older sister, Sarah. I was looking for comfort. I wanted her to tell me that Mark was overreacting, that he was being unfair, and that 3 years of love shouldn't be erased by old college history. Instead, I got the harshest reality check of my life. "Chloe, I love you, but you need to wake up," Sarah told me, her voice blunt and uncompromising over the phone. "You didn't just keep a little secret. You lied by omission every single day for 3 years. You made Mark look like an absolute fool in front of your friends, and you let him build genuine friendships with guys who had a history with his future wife without ever giving him the agency to decide if he was comfortable with that. You broke his trust completely, and you cannot blame him for leaving." Hearing her say it out loud caused a massive, painful perspective shift inside my head. For the last 3 years, I had viewed the situation entirely through my own selfish lens, justifying it as protecting the peace. But sitting alone in the dark, I finally forced myself to look at it through Mark's eyes. I imagined the roles reversed. What if Mark had a core group of 4 stunning female friends from college? What if he invited them over to our place, hung out with them every single weekend, went on group trips with them, and had me cook them dinner? And what if, after 3 years of me trying so hard to bond with them and fit in, I accidentally discovered that he had slept with every single one of them? What if I realized they all shared this intimate history that I was deliberately kept in the dark about? The realization hit me like a physical truck. I would feel humiliated. I would feel sick to my stomach. I would feel like they were all looking at me with pity every time we hung out. I finally understood exactly why Mark walked away. I wasn't the victim of an overreaction. I was the bad guy. The current situation is completely bleak. Mark hasn't spoken a single word to me, but he's been back to the apartment. He waited until yesterday afternoon when he knew I would be stuck at the office. When I walked through the door after work, his side of the closet was completely empty. All his shoes were gone. His toothbrush was missing from the bathroom. The only thing he left behind was his set of apartment keys, sitting right in the middle of the kitchen counter. Next to them was a cold, formal sticky note that read, "We need to contact the landlord about breaking the lease. Let me know via email when you are free to discuss logistics." Seeing his handwriting look so detached and clinical hurt more than anything else. I am completely lost. I'm reflecting on everything, desperately trying to figure out if this relationship is truly, completely dead, or if there is any microscopic chance I can ever earn his trust back. It feels like my messy past has completely ruined my future, and I have no idea how to move forward from this. I messed up so badly, and the guilt is eating me alive. I would throw away my entire friend group in a heartbeat, cut contact with all of them forever, just to have Mark back in this apartment. But looking at those keys on the counter, I think it's already too late. Am I completely irredeemable? Is there any way to fix a lie this big, or do I just have to accept that I ruined the best thing that ever happened to me?